Super excited to have a guy who's a two-time NBA All-Star. And Morgan, there are guys, former players who go to games, and then there's this guy, Brad effing Miller, with us here on the Deuce and Mo podcast. Brad, I appreciate you joining us, number one. But number two, like, we've seen you at games over the last few years, and I see other NBA players are just kind of chill, watching games,
They
relaxing.
wave.
No emotion, really.
Yeah.
You are into the games.
You're there. You're a fan.
Yeah. I mean, I live here still, so it's like, since I retired, I've been here, and I've been obviously played for the Kings, but, this year being able to be a true fan of, just watching the team every game and everything, the excitement just really got me going this year. The team was exciting and, just being a fan.
That's what Deuce and I were talking about you a little bit earlier today, and we were just saying, you were into it this year, but you've been into it even when they were losing. You were there. You're not just like jumping on and being like, all right, this is fun, so I'm going to be here and have some fun. But you've seen it all. So this team took a huge leap. What made this team stand out to you or make it so special?
I think just there's really similarities the way Domas was really playing, passing, distributing the ball. So you go back to big guys, distributing the ball, being the main assist guys on the team. That's kind of what we did back in the day. So it gets you excited to see that still in play nowadays with the way he was able to be healthy. And then obviously Darren made big strides, and just kind of the way they play off each other allowed Darren to be more explosive towards the rim and be more his best attributes a little bit more.
Yeah, I was curious if that's how you connected more with this team, because you're right. Like, Sabonis's feel for the game is just, as someone who grew up in your guys' era, like, I connected with those teams because of how you guys shared the ball, the passing of you, C-Web, and Vlade. What makes a good passer, especially as a big guy?
You got to earn trust. You're going to take some turnovers to get that trust, that's for sure. I remember when I got to Houston with Kevin Martin, he was like, man, my back cuts are back, because he just knew the exact timing of, when to cut. And if you think a ball's not coming, and that's what the defender thinks, and then we're throwing those passes. So, it becomes a lot of trust. And, it's very fun to have, big guys that don't need to score. We like to see the other guys score and do all the other exciting stuff to get them, more excited about playing defense and coming and passing the ball, knowing that it's going to come around again.
Because even when your guys' King squad was on the floor playing, just kind of like we were saying, it was almost innovative, right? These bigs that were able to pass at such a high level. And then you're seeing it again in this modern day NBA, and you're seeing big guys really evolve their game. What have you liked about the way that Sabonis plays on the floor, especially since he's not posting up every single offensive possession?
I mean, he knows the offense. He gets to bring it up, kind of what I said, point forward, kind of back in the day. They described those guys that could bring it up. And that is kind of the evolution. Joker does it all the time, and B does it some. So you see these big guys that get the rebound and actually can just get it up in the offense quicker than having to look for a point guard. And that really went into Mike Brown's strategy with pace this year. Obviously, we knew it was a historic pace year for the Kings of everything they did, but having a big guy that can, just start right away, get the rebound, and just go with it. And then you got four guards running, and that puts a lot of pressure on the teams.
Yeah, with Sabonis in the playoffs, they were playing off of him, giving him that kind of mid-range look. He looked hesitant to take it, and I know that's probably going to eat at him this summer as he works on his game. How much do you think that's just kind of the mental part? Because I feel like he can make that shot.
I remember watching all summer his workout videos, like, oh, he's busting threes and all these jumpers. I was like, oh, it's going to be, but the team didn't need that throughout the year. So he didn't really have to do that too much. Then you get in the playoffs and they will find the one thing that is not a strength. You might have 15 strengths, but if you can find one that they're like, well, and then they just it gets in your head where he's wide open at the jumper. I mean, I'm sure I'd be eat up over it all summer. So it's something, he's going to work on. He had a great season, and, Golden State's the champs. They got coaches over there that know that. From Popovich did it to me when we played against the Spurs. I didn't get my easy little 17 swing jump shots. He was like, no, do not allow it. So, those coaches just are really good at knowing how to take something away.
So do you think, like, next year the Kings maybe need to utilize that Sabonis mid-range every once in a while if he's working on that, like just to get him comfortable?
He'll evolve it. Just, time needed. I mean, obviously he proved all year to be the 3 seed and all-star team and lead the league in rebounds. That, he does a lot of things really good out there in the court. So, the game is always evolving. You learn in the playoffs more than you do in the regular season because the focus defensively really shows you what other teams think you need to work on, and then you get to go back throughout the summer and come back prepared and ready to go.
We talked about how this team took a leap, not only with Sabonis and the way that he played, but De'Aaron Fox. We've already talked about the pace. I mean, Brad, you've been watching this team and you've been watching it in person over the years, and now you're seeing it in this season for De'Aaron Fox. He took this huge leap with the way that he was consistent, could shoot the ball, was playing on both ends of the floor. What do you think clicked for him? What made his game so special this season?
Confidence. I mean, this league's all about confidence. I mean, everyone go out there, do these individual workouts, look like a MVP, and then you get in a game and something doesn't go your way, and then you have to learn how to deal with adversity. And then, I mean, obviously, I think started really Orlando. It was over after Orlando game for D Fox. When he hit that, just like, I'm like, hurry up, get a little closer, and just take it his time, and chucked it from just inside half court and walked off that game winner. I think that really set the tone for him personally, especially with that confidence. And obviously, Chicago, I'm that guy. So, he just had a lot of moments where, that growth, when you do that in the league, that gives you a lot of confidence. And not many people can say they've hit game winners in the NBA.
You've had some playoff pain over the years for sure. And now the Kings just experienced that playoff pain. I want to know how this feels as a fan, because you're a fan. You're just rattling off all these things that happened during the season. The Kings just lost a Game 7 to the Golden State Warriors. I was hung over from that for like a week. Like, where were you at emotionally, like right after that game ended, Game 7?
I mean, I was just telling everyone, just be happy for the season. People are, of course you lose. You're like, oh, we lost, and that depression. I'm like, just celebrate. We went out after. I'm like, we're celebrating the Kings season. I mean, you took the champs to 7 games. It's not an easy task. I mean, obviously LA's doing a little bit better, but I'm pretty sure the Kings wore the Warriors down. I mean, we went against Boston when I was with the Chicago. We went to 7 games, overtimes, and they were defending champs, and they got smacked in the last round. You could just see like they were exhausted because mainly you go to 7 games. That takes a toll on you. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and I think, when I look at that for the Kings, I get excited that they had to go up against the defending champs in a lot of ways, because they were given this challenge that was, the best of the best. Like, here, this is going to be your experience. Now, what are you going to do with it? And I thought they handled it all in the challenge really well. But now, if you're those guys, what are you looking at that you're going, okay, this is what we need to change, so when we make the playoffs next season, this is how we are going to be better?
I just understand situations. I mean, honestly, like the first time you're there, you don't know what to expect. The fouls don't get called and this stuff doesn't get called. And it's just, it's literally a whole different referee game when you get in the playoffs. And people, the mental side of where you see a PJ Tucker. I mean, obviously Dylan Brooks didn't do the best mental, but that was what he was trying to do, mentally get in people's head. And that's what you do when you play the same team over and over, because you never do that in NBA. You might play them back to back, but you play someone else a different style and you get so locked into what they're doing to you and what you're trying to do to them. And, it's just the back and forth, the adjustments that have to be made.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is we talk so much about the experience. I think just getting the experience helps them. Like, we talk about, what else does this team need? Of course, they got to get better defensively. We know that, but I even saw like signs of that in the playoffs. I feel like for them to get to the next level, it's just experiencing this and learning from it. There's no better experience than doing this against the Warriors.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they were going to get him. I wanted that matchup. I was like, this is really going to prove, Yeah, which of course we probably wanted the Clippers with those guys being hurt and get to the second round probably a little bit easier. But, that's the playoffs. You're going against good teams, round 1, second round, whatever round you go to. Pretty much everybody made the playoffs and is a good NBA team. And that's the best test you could really get, is pretty much the champs and the NorCal and just all these Warriors fans that used to be Kings fans. And trying to get them back over to the Kings. So, I think for the start of getting back in the playoffs, like it was Utah when the Kings started making the playoffs, and they had to go through them a couple times.
Yeah.
And, they were a way better team. And so who knows, maybe next year we'll see the Warriors again and be like, all right, lived and learned from experiences and go at it again. Another NorCal battle would be pretty cool.
Brad, I love that we get to talk to you as a fan, sort of, because I've had this discussion with a few people. Like, Kings fans cannot in any way, shape, or form want the Lakers to advance, right? It's Lakers, Warriors right now. Like, you have to still go, you know what? I would rather have the Warriors continue, because then it's like you lost to a team that's going to make the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, it's in between. If you go to 7 games, you're like, I just wanted to get beat. Like, we should have beat them and felt like we would have had a better chance in the next round against how they're looking right now. But, so it's kind of a hit or miss when you lose to the champs. Like, especially the Lakers. Obviously, no one up here likes the Lakers.
No.
So.
Do you when you're at games, do you ever talk shit to opposing fans? Like, are people going at you every once in a while? Do you ever go back and forth with people?
I just kind of the guys that I know a little bit. I'll
Yeah.
kind of say some words if they see me during the game just to mess with them a little bit, but nothing too bad like I used to. That's for sure.
I can't even picture. Every time I see Brad at a game, he's like smiling, just cheering loud,
chugging beer.
Maybe.
So
Uber nights.
Oh yeah,
Hell
Uber
yeah.
nights for sure. Yeah. So when you played, did you talk a lot of shit on the court?
It was in between. It just depends how you looked at it. You could just grab a guy and jab at him without having to say anything and kind of get the same results. So it was fun. There's no doubt there's a lot of back and forth.
Oh wait, what do you think of the whole Sabonis Green thing when it happened?
Oh.
Do you think Sabonis tried to grab his leg a little bit?
Yes, but there's also, that's just what Draymond does to you. Sabonis is I'm kind of seeing someone stepping around me. I've got my hands, and you're not trying, but you just kind of
instinct.
There you're like, oh, you just want to grab it real quick because he's been kicking you and whatnot, and that's just kind of old tussles in the NBA. That kind of looking at that.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that whole thing was insane to see in person.
Oh yeah, it was
It was on his chest. I'm like, what?
Anyone that watches WWE, it was literally that, which is very entertaining, but also just awful that everything was going down while Sabonis was like aching on the ground.
Well, there's the other game, you stayed on top of him, wouldn't let him up, and then it ended up being 4-on-4, at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Because Draymond just, I fell again. Like, I fell again. Like, you're like, stuff like that just gets very annoying.
So what do you think of Keegan Murray's rookie year? Like, are you impressed with what you're seeing in him?
Oh, yeah. Obviously, I was selfishly wanted Ivy here just because he's a Purdue guy. But, obviously, the system for what they got, that kid just came out of nowhere, really, in Big Ten. I watched a lot of Big Ten college ball. And, it was like freshman year, nothing. You're like, okay. And then it was like, once Garza left, and all of a sudden he's out there dropping 20. I'm like, what the heck? And then they beat us in the Big Ten championship his senior year. So it was like, he kicked our butt pretty much.
Yeah.
He had like 28 or 30 against us in that game. And I was like, how does this kid shoot so well? You think, just kind of a sleepy, quiet guy and just out there busting 200 some threes in the NBA as a rookie.
Yeah, I think one of the coolest parts about Keegan was seeing him get better each game.
Even in the playoffs.
That's the thing. And then you saw him in the playoffs and it was like, oh, he flipped a switch and he gained a little bit more confidence and he listened to his coaches. Is that just him being super coachable, or is that just like good at what type of player he is and is going to be?
Well, that's going to be both. When you see a kid in college that was like, they want to see these pros that average 20 as a freshman. They don't let like people that actually stay in college and see their growth. Like, hey, I didn't play much as a freshman because I had Matt Garza, who was an all Big Ten bucket getter, in college machine. And then he got his chance and all of a sudden he stepped up. Obviously his brother did the same thing this year. He left and his brother averaged like 18 this year. Like, looks identical, obviously, but you're like, he did the same type of game of his growth. And then, like I say, you get 7 games play off the adjustments where, game 6, he's playing the 5. You never imagined that, I'm sure, but his confidence got up. Defense, he knew, Mike put a lot on him. Like, if you suck defensively, you're not playing right now. And he took that to heart, and that's where he got more minutes each game and was understanding what it took a little bit more. So he showed me a lot in the playoffs to get better each game.
I think the other thing just with this team is they didn't just like limp into the playoffs. It's not like, hey, they got in and the streak's over. I just feel like this group has the chance to kind of make this sustainable, that they can be a playoff team for years to come now.
Oh yeah, definitely. Mike Brown really changed the system. They talk about the pace was way better than the Warriors back in the day when everyone thought Steve Kerr was crazy when they went on their run, like how much they were scoring, how they're scoring. Like, Kings did historical stuff, and the confidence, here at Trey Lau was like, this is my number one. I want to be back here, as a free agent this year. And you see these pieces that, the defensive player of the game changed, is everybody together. Like, it really created a culture where everybody really, you could see it that they enjoyed playing with everybody and showing up in practice, and it really just showed in all the little intangibles that not everybody has in an organization, on a team especially.
Brett, I feel like one of the things that people don't talk enough about you is the fact that you are one of the rare guys in NBA history that went from being undrafted to being a multi-time All-Star. When you go undrafted, I'm sure it's humbling a little bit. You all have dreams to make it to the league. I'm curious what's going through your mind then. And I'm guessing at that moment you weren't like, hey, I'm going to go be an All-Star after this.
No, I definitely wasn't thinking being an All-Star at that point or nothing. Obviously it was very disappointed to, go to a guy named Casey Shaw from Toledo that Larry Brown promised they were going to take me a couple picks in the second round, and that's who they ended up going with in Philly. So I've
never heard of that guy.
I literally had an Uber driver that was like University of Toledo, big fan. And he goes, yeah, we just had a guy get drafted last year from Toledo in the second round. I'm like, oh, you forgot about Casey Shaw? He's like, who's that? I go, he's in Toledo. He goes, I've never heard of the guy. He pulls it up. He's like, crap, that's my own school. And he still was like, never even heard of the guy. I'm like, that's how history is made sometimes. You can be on the right side or the wrong side. He's definitely on the wrong side of that one.
Wait, so you thought you were going there, and they
promised my agent. Pacers were talking about trading up. Houston was there, and went Al Harrington, Bryce Drew went to Houston, and then Casey Shaw went to Philly, and Naz Mohammed went to Utah, and I kicked his butt in a workout. And it was kind of like, all right, this is interesting political game. But next day my agent called me. He's like, where you want to go? And I was just like, whoever effing didn't have a second round pick and has no big guys. And it was between Charlotte and Houston. I went down to Charlotte for a workout and pretty much had a verbal guarantee, but because I wasn't drafted, I got to play USA basketball, Rudy T, and that's where he really wanted me to come to Houston. And like, he got to see me play and be around. So I got to have other great experiences in life, and I actually was playing pro ball in Italy during the whole lockout, so I was in basketball ready shape, and came back and I was like, man, this NBA, these guys are out of shape. And I was like, okay, this ain't gonna be too bad.
Dude, that lockout year, like I'll never forget just how different some of those guys look. Like Sean Kemp came back, and you're like, whoa, what happened to Sean Kemp, dude? Some of these guys put on a lot of weight, and we're like never the same.
Yeah, me and Ricky Davis were the rookies, and it's like literally like Chucky Brown, I love him to death. He came in about 40 pounds overweight. Derek Coleman was probably about 80. And we're literally doing down and backs, and like I'm just kicking it with the point guards, like turning, and it's like me and Ricky and the point guards like, where the heck's the big guys at? Like there ain't no big guys in sight. They're like, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like,
wow, that probably
very helpful.
And that, I was gonna say, that probably like shaped your game, for what you ended up being in the future, especially being able to be this big that had evolved and was doing so much more, not only with the passing, but being able to run with the guys. But is there something within your career that you're just like most proud of, except staying in shape during the lockout season?
Just played with as hard as I could play. I wasn't the most athletic, just tried to outsmart everybody. So I said, like, excuse me, you see like these slow pump fakes, and how am I getting one dribble like this? And then it's like, stop, pump fake, up and under, like, and one. I'm like, how do they fall for this? So it's like, just thrived on, being one of those Indiana, my whole family played college ball, 3 uncles, D1, my sister, my cousin. So it's just my cousin's in D1 football right now. He's the first one to defect to football,
Wow.
but he's just under 6'9", about 320. So I think
Oh my God.
It's a beast.
I think he's better off being in football than basketball.
Today's podcast presented by our buddy, Sean Stanfield, over at rate.com/Sean Stanfield. Morgan Reagan, if you're looking to purchase a house, but can I afford it?
Yep. And that's how you ask, right?
Like a 5-year-old kid.
Yeah. And then I'd say, shut up and go to Sean.
Well, should I refinance my house?
Shut up and Sean will tell you.
Okay, fine. Go to Sean Stanfield. Seriously, we've known him for over a decade. He's helped our podcast listeners, whether it's purchasing a house or refinancing. Maybe it makes sense for you right now, or maybe you just don't know how to start the process. Well, Sean and his team over at Guaranteed Rate will help you with that process. So make sure to check out Sean's website, rate.com/Sean Stanfield. You get loan options, neighborhood market, and current rate research, everything you need in just a few clicks. You can also call or text him. It's pretty simple, 916-276-7563. That's 276-7563, area code 916. Equal housing lender, subject to credit approval. NMLS ID number 349707. Company NMLS ID number 2611. NMLSconsumeraccess.org. Thanks so much to our friends at
Guaranteed.
Right.
Guaranteed.
Right.
And okay, I can afford a house. Now what do I do?
Oh, I know. You go to this guy, Joey Reagan. That's right. He knows everything about this city. Actually, he knows everything about a lot of different cities too. Joey has helped not only some of our listeners, he has helped so many others in this city buy or sell their home. So if you have a friend that needs some help, or if you need some help, make sure to go to Joey's website.
Yeah, jreagan.golion.com. That's jreagan.golion.com. You can also call or text him at 916-412-4592. That's 916-412-4592. His license number is 0212-8070. Appreciate everyone's support of the Deuce and Mo podcast. So at what point in your NBA career did you feel like, oh, I belong here and I made it? Like I'm really good.
Well, once I made a shot, because Lonzo Mourning blocked like my first 5 shots in the league, because they just played me against Charlotte or against Miami, because I was the big guy, and they were doing those 3 in a night, 3 games in a row. It seemed like Miami was always in there. And I was like, can you just let a rookie get his first ball? He's like, man, no. I was like, oh crap. Then I think I played the Bulls and finally had like 20 in a game, and I was like, oh, okay, it's not Alonzo Mourning. He's my only problem. That's when I had learned to run faster and start working on that jump shot instead of having to try to score down low on my up and unders against Alonzo Mourning wasn't working too well.
Yeah.
So then when you agreed to go to Sacramento, when did you realize like, okay, this is the perfect fit for me?
First practice, about 5 minutes in, when, talking, he's like, Big's down here, Little's down here. And Coach Carril goes, all right, guys, let's just talk philosophy of basketball. Have a seat. And I was like, excellent. And just talking like basketball knowledge of just little ins and outs of how to dribble a certain way, like right hand layups, shoot left-handed, left hand, right hand, just like philosophy of basketball. And then we started going 5-on-5 and playing, doing the corner, and these guys are cutting, Vladdy's throwing these heaters underneath, behind the back, and I'm like, holy crap, coach's not even mad at him. I'm like, okay, my turn. I was like, everyone's like cutting back. I was like, oh man, I could have been in this system a long time ago.
Wow.
So you're really a student of the game. Like, I feel like, so you just like soak that in, and then obviously the words, and then once you were on the court, you soaked that in, and it was like, okay, this is how basketball should be played.
It was like just seamless, thoughtless, and it was just like one play called, and there's like 85 options off of it. And I don't even know half the calls, but it'd be like, if this guy does this, then you do this and this. And it was just, everything was what you saw is what you did. It wasn't robotic. It wasn't like you have to go from point A to point B. And that was just like amazing to be able to play like that.
So does this version of the Kings do similar things?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's what got me so excited. Just seeing, the pass, drive in there, and obviously they kick it out. And I mean, you can go back to like how I mean the determination when Herter hit that game winner, like earlier this season, it was like missed shot,
Yeah.
got the rebound, and it's like attack though, and it's like, ugh, and it's like, and just stayed on it. So there's a lot of fun and but just a lot of passing and just everyone playing together.
Man, that team with you guys had such a good team. It's like such a shame it did not work out. Weber's injury, I think, really changed things. But man, that was just such a fun squad. Like, what do you think made that your guys' team so special?
Just everybody was together. I mean, it didn't matter. I mean, my first year Peja was right at MVP level. I mean, it was like, you want to shoot the ball? He's like, I'm here to shoot the ball. We're like, then you shoot the ball. We will pass you the ball in the corner every single time. Don't try to dribble it. Just shoot the ball. And just everyone got along so well. And just, I mean, it was just such a fun time to play. I mean, practices were fun and just goofing off with everybody was fun, but everyone took it serious when it was time. Everyone was very high basketball IQ too, so that makes it a lot easier. Not just being athletes, but having basketball IQ and makes it so much easier.
Yeah, I want to ask, like, how important is it for everyone to really like each other on a team? And I think the obvious answer is like, well, of course. But then you do see today in the NBA too, like you could do a star-studded team and just kind of get by with some, superstar powers or whatever. But I mean, for team basketball, how important is it that these guys like each other?
But yeah, I mean, you don't want to pass the ball to a guy or a son. You're like, I don't like him. You don't want any
Yes.
thoughts. So, and there's always teammates that don't get along off the court, but it's always like on the court is, we fortunately focus like that. What matters on the court? So as long as I like you on the court, we're having fun, that's what you got to do.
You were talking about sitting around with Coachy. I'm curious, what's maybe like the biggest lesson you learned from him?
Like I said, he blew my mind away of just talking about a right hand layup. You should always shoot with your left hand because you are technically about a foot closer and no one wants to block you with the right hand. So like you mess them up, and it's like, this is before all the guards started doing this. Is when it's back early 2000s, and all the point guards do it now. But it was like, honestly, at that time, like even the guards didn't really do it. They were still like, all right, we'll do the floaters on the right or a left hand floater instead of switching it up. And it was like, honestly, one of the basketball things that I had not thought of ever at the time. And so that one's always stuck in my head as the first thing that kind of blew my mind away of like basketball IQ and thinking about things in a different way.
Yeah, I've talked to Doug Christie about this before, and he felt like he truly became a great player learning from Coachy. Like just being around him, that he learned the game at a different level. He realized he didn't know much about basketball until he got around Coachy.
Yeah, I mean, look what he did. Took a Princeton team with just being basketball IQ over UCLA back in the day. You're like, yeah, there's Cinderellas, but there wasn't as many back then of, talented players on these smaller schools like there was. And he just outsmarted them the whole time with pump fakes, back cuts, pressure, movement, playing together. And that guy knows a lot of basketball.
And then your former head coach, Rick Adelman, goes in the Hall of Fame last year. When I mentioned Rick Adelman, what comes to mind?
He was my favorite NBA coach. I mean, just him and his family. I played Minnesota. I was with David, lived in the same apartment. So me and him had wings like almost every night, it seemed like, or play some Golden Tee. And just his family, always support me. It was always nice. We were there in Houston,
Yeah.
Minnesota, and here. So, I kind of chased him around a little bit. And I always say he chased me to Minnesota because I got traded there before he took that job. But I did go to Houston following him. So, just a great person, made a big impression on my life.
So Brad, we know you're, nowadays you're a Kings fan. We've done NBC Sports California hits with you. You're on the Deuce and Mo podcast. So what else are you up to now?
Just always odds and ends, little business deals. Still got the kids fishing pole company. It's been like the biggest winner of something, start from nothing and actually have something that is actually good and, made for the kids. It was kind of cool to hit that market. So that's always been like fun little project of mine, and just different real estate deals and stuff where I don't have to be there daily, so I can be a fan and go to the games when I want.
Yeah, I feel like you're always traveling. You're always doing something.
A little something here and there. I got a lot more stuff that's in the different parts. I used to go back to Indiana for hunting season and
Yeah.
summertime and enjoy that lifestyle.
Is hunting like therapeutic for you, or is it competitive, or both?
It's both.
Yeah.
It was like more therapeutic way on, then became competitive. Now it's kind of back into that mix of a little bit of both, of trying to grow the biggest deer we can grow in the county back in Indiana. And, a lot of work goes into that people don't know.
Yeah. And you stayed in Sacramento. That's something you mentioned at the top. Why was staying in Sacramento important to you? Like, why do you still want to be in Sac?
My daughter was born out here when I was playing, and so she's still in school. She's a sophomore at Country Day, so this is where she was born, and really doesn't remember going to the Bulls or going to Houston much. And then, so I retired when she was starting kindergarten because I was going to be up in Minnesota. Probably could have got out of there, traded, but I would have been with Rick, but my daughter was starting kindergarten out here, and I didn't want to miss that opportunity. So it became Sacramento.
Dude, that's actually kind of cool. So you probably could have played a little longer.
I walked away from a bunch of guaranteed money, but
Whoa.
she was starting kindergarten. I was going to be in Minnesota. So,
it's pretty awesome that you had your NBA life and then you're with your daughter pretty much the entire time.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. You didn't have to miss those like big moments.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of those early age cuteness, when they really love their dad before they get too older, teenage life. So, I got to experience all the really cute daddy-daughter years together.
Dude.
Oh, good luck with the teenage years.
Yeah, seriously.
It's not my favorite.
Oh my God. I know how I was as like a teenage girl, and I'm just like, my poor parents. But I played basketball too. So like they were like, just please keep hooping. Just please go.
Yeah, just go to the gym. Leave us alone.
Yeah.
Get it out of your system.
Does she play ball at all?
Oh
No.
Oh no.
no sports at all.
That's all right. That's all right, dude.
It's all right. It's fine.
Yeah. So, big picture, looking at Sacramento's season, you're on board with what's going on in the future. You feel really good about where they're headed.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Vivek's done a great job when, keeping the facilities and getting inner staff to really help players out. And I think it's all starting to click. A lot of years of, just everything that went on, and it's just starting to click now in this place. Like I say, you'll get free agents, like saw that playoffs, like Sacramento. Hey, that don't sound so bad anymore. You're like, Mike Brown's system, I can chuck threes up. I just got to play defense a little bit and play together. And obviously the fans are going to be nuts. So, I think this really could have helped, for some free agency. That's how it got me. Is like, man, they're really good. Because I was going to go to Denver. I had some friends there. Melo just got drafted, and Sacramento kind of came in late. And I was like, oh, that team's awesome. And those fans are nuts. And it was like, took me like 2 seconds. We're like, okay, told my agent, Mark, I'll go to Sac.
See, and that's the thing. I always wonder how much NBA players care about like the fan perspective. I feel like I know money's important situation, but there's got to be something about walking into a building, even on a Tuesday night against Charlotte, and the place is sold out and rocking. And I feel like that has to attract it has to be attractable for some guys.
Yeah, there's a lot more recruiting where guys don't necessarily stay on teams as long, as it isn't like it used to be, like 5-year deals. I signed a 7-year deal that don't exist anymore. So that was the last one in the history of the NBA. And so, but it's definitely going to help guys. Got free agent. Maybe they want to think they can show more. Trey Lyles, all the jumps he made from what he's done in all of his previous years, like that confidence you could see. And you're like, that's why he got drafted high by Denver. Like what he showed this year, because he was finally able to find a system that he felt really comfortable in. There's going to be other guys like that who'll come in and be like, plug into this system and just instantly make them better player.
Yeah, and I think that was one thing in the exit interviews, listening to all the players. Like Terrence Davis was saying how he played fewer minutes than any time of his NBA career, but he felt like he got he became a better player because of Mike Brown. And then Trey Lyles is like, I'll do anything for Mike Brown. Like, I'm just hearing this from all these players. I'm like, that's another thing that has to attract guys. When people can come to Sacramento and play with confidence.
Want to run through walls with people.
Malik Monk says, like, the difference is I had someone who believed in me. And that's a big deal.
Oh, that's huge. I mean, if your coach ain't really giving you that confidence, then it shows, you know, and then you go through a stretch and it takes one little bad stretch and you might just fall off the cliff and never play, you know, find the bottom of the bench. And then you're like, you know, just like, I want to get out of here because I'm not enjoying the experience. And you get a good experience. I mean, it makes the year a lot better to deal with. That's for sure.
Well, Brad, I appreciate you hopping on with us for a bit. One, you're such a fun player playing in Sacramento, but I love seeing you at games, man. You're amped up. You're just like
energy.
all the other fans. I love how much of a fan you've become too. So appreciate you joining us.
Absolutely, no problem. We'll see Kings next year in the playoffs, right? Another tattoo next year.
Yeah.
Come on, Brad. You know it. I'm getting a little beam right here.
There you go.
Appreciate it, Brad.
No problem.